Evening. Feel free to grab the Reese profile there, and if you have last year's Aspire test there, that's available there for you too. Okay. Hey there. Feel free to pick up your Reese profile information over there, and there's some handouts on the table there, and go ahead and have a seat. Yeah, 8th grade Aspire tests are there if your student was here for 8th grade. Otherwise, feel free to pick that up there. So good evening. My name is Don Kortz. I'm academic dean here at Rockford Lutheran, and I'd like to welcome you to our freshman college planning night. Some people think, yeah, we're still just freshmen. We've only been in high school for a few weeks. Why are we starting to talk about college already? Well, you understand the process of really being ready for college when it's that opportunity to search and to accept and seek and so on. There's a lot of things that should be happening well up front of that. And so that's really what we're here to talk about tonight. So thanks for being here tonight, and thanks to those of you that are joining us online as well. This recording will be shared on the Counselor's Corner next day or so, along with the PowerPoint. So we don't have to worry about taking notes and all those sorts of things. All that'll be available to you from the website. Let's begin with a word of prayer. Holy Father, this is an opportunity of new beginnings. And Lord, as we look down the road, there's just a lot of unknowns that lie between here and the college experience of these young people. But Lord, we're thankful that to you, all that is known. And most importantly, Lord, these young people are known to you. Bless us now as we seek your direction, your guidance, your wisdom, as we become better stewards of those gifts that you bless them with, so that we can help them grow to be the disciples you've created them to be, to grow and develop the gifts and abilities and passions that they have, so that they can pursue those avenues that you prepared for them. Lord, open our eyes to those opportunities today and bless us as we seek that journey together with you. In your name, amen. Okay, so we're going to start really talking about what our school is about, because when we take a look at the mission statement of our school, obviously we're here to provide a challenging and inspiring educational experience for your students. And as we take a look at our core values in particular, I like to talk about these because of the fact that it really brings in some specifics of the things that are key for us as we look at what it takes to really be ready for a college experience down the road. So as we talk about Christ-centered experience, I like to talk about the fact that we're here understanding these young people as gifts to us. We're just stewards of their lives. They're the Lord's, just as we all are the Lord's, and he's blessed us with the opportunity to care for them and shape them and nurture them for a period of time. And believe it or not, as you're thinking about this, that period of time is getting pretty short. Every year, you know, at graduation, people come up to me and say, wow, where did those 4 years go? Well, hold on, because it's going to be a great ride, but a quick ride. And so we want to make sure we're taking the steps we need to plan for that, but recognizing that we do that from the context of seeing that these young people that God's blessed us with all come with their own gifts and abilities and passions and opportunities. And so we're here just to explore what those are, and to really understand who they are as God created them to be, as we try to nurture them and guide them to a great opportunity, a great future. As we talk about excellence, we're here to do our very best. Okay, we've got lots of things to experience. We've got lots of things to do. We've got lots of things to try, and some of those we're going to be really successful at, and some of those are going to be really difficult. And that's going to be the case for all of us, and that's okay, because that's really a part of what it is that we're here to experience. What's not okay is not doing your best. Whatever the result is, the key is, have I really said that I can really say that I've used all the gifts that God gave me and I did my best? Whether I was successful in terms of a GPA, or was successful in terms of a musical experience, or a theatrical experience, or an athletic experience, or whatever, can I always go back and say that I did the best that I could with the gifts God gave me? That's all He asks of us. That's all we can ask of each other. That's all we can ask of our students. And students, you need to realize that's all you can ask of yourselves too. Okay, service. We're going to talk a lot about things that colleges are looking for, and one of those elements is what kind of character are we bringing to the table as potential students? And obviously, it's obviously, as you see demonstrated here in this stage, that we've got a priority on service, and that's because we want to engender in our students this understanding of the fact that this is not all about me. And there's more to what this whole college prep experience is about than just me. There's more to this life than just me. And so how do I live that out? How do I grow that? That's a big part of what we're here about as a school. And so that's a key thing we're going to be talking about quite a bit tonight. Harmony, as we talk about the idea that, you know, we're all different. God's given us all different abilities, and we can work together as members of the body of Christ when we realize and are okay with the fact that some of us are hands, and some of us are feet, and some of us are ears, and some of us are eyes, and we all have different roles to play. But being okay with that, and recognizing that because of that, we have different roles to play that we can accomplish a lot more effectively if we do it in harmony with each other. That body will grow, and it'll be strong, and it'll accomplish what it needs to. But that comes from the harmony that we begin with, and that we understand as we see our own role and the roles of others and the gifts of others and our own passions and those sorts of things. So a lot of what we're talking about that are key to the core values of our school are really key to what we're going to be talking about with the college process. Here's some questions, and we can spend some time talking about these, but I put them up here just for you to think about. One of the things I'm going to encourage you to do is find some time to spend with your kids just talking about some of the things we're talking about tonight. Because there's a lot of discussion opportunities that come down the road with what we're going to be getting into. And so these are just some questions I put there to kind of spur that on a little bit. This is a slide I always include as we talk about, you know, what's the value of a college degree and education, those sorts of things. And it's obviously important and it's critical, but getting back to what we were just talking about with the core values, there's more to the equation than just what college contributes to our future income. There's more to the equation than just the monetary benefits that we get from this investment. Obviously, that's beneficial and it's helpful, and it's a part of being good stewards of the gifts that God gave us. But the things that He put us here are so much bigger than just future income. And therefore, the role that we have as a school, as we're talking about excellence, and as we're talking about a Christ-centered perspective on who we are, and as we're talking about service and harmony, there's so much more to what we want our young people to be than just future earners and wealthy in a pure monetary sense. And that's what, as we kind of get started, I guess we want to start with this context of understanding that we're really here to get a feel for who is it that God's created this young person to be. And those of you as freshmen, we've already started talking about that. You remember we did the Reese profile and the spiritual gifts inventory. We started talking about, you know, who is it that God's just kind of wired you to be? What are the gifts He's given you that are key? And so as we recognize that that's our Christ-centeredness coming through, our purpose as a school is not to make everybody future global titans of industry or wealth or whatever. It's to help every person be who God created them to be. And so there's a lot more to the equation than just future income. Not that that's irrelevant, because again, that's a part of us using the gifts that God gave us. But let's keep it in that kind of a context. Okay, so let's start thinking about now, what do colleges look for? If we're going to start getting ready today with that, for that future potential of seeking out the best collegiate experience that we possibly can, what do we need to be thinking about today? Well, the first thing for us to think about is, what do colleges want? What are they looking for? And yeah, some of that's grades. It's a grade point average. They want good grades, especially in the situation we're in now, where so many schools are going test optional. We'll talk about that more in just a second. But if they're not looking at test scores as much as they used to, what are they looking at? Well, they're looking pretty significantly at grades, because the thing for us to keep in mind is that colleges ultimately are looking for graduates. They're not looking for high school graduates. They're looking for college graduates, because they don't want to be bringing in 5,000 freshmen who are going to turn into 3,000 seniors 4 years later. Their business office is going to be in fits. And that issue of student retention is one of the biggest scores that's used to rank universities. And so if their score of retention of students does not look very good, they are not going to end up in US News World Report for anything, okay? Because that's just such a huge critical element. So they're looking for students that they can rely on, that they can trust, that are going to have a very solid potential of coming in as freshmen and going out 4 years later with a degree. On to industry, on to career, on to future education, whatever it is. But they want that tally that says we brought this many kids in, and well, we really pulled a big percentage of them through, and they went out successfully 4 years later. That's a big part of what they're looking for. GPA is a part of that, because if you're doing your job in the high school classes, then good chance you're going to do your job in the college classes too. And that's a huge determiner. I put some figures down here at the bottom just to give you a little bit of idea of what some schools are looking for. ISU is looking for at least a 2.5. NIU wants at least a 2.75 with a 19 and or a 19 ACT. So, you know, as we think about those as state schools, that would typically be some of the schools that are fairly easy to get into. Okay, but realize a 2.75, you know, that's like a B- average. So we can't be messing around too much as freshmen. Okay, and that's again is why it's important for us to start now being concerned about what our GPA is. And parents, believe me, I've already had that talk with freshmen, and we'll continue to do that, because one of the things they need to recognize is they only have 6 semesters to build the transcript that they're going to use to apply to college, because they're applying to college right now. Our seniors have already turned in a bazillion applications for college, because there's deadlines coming up this week and in the next 2 weeks at a lot of schools. And so I tell them right up front, August of your senior year, your search process is over. That's when you start filling out applications. Okay, so that means you've only got 6 semester transcript done at that point. That's the transcript that's going to get you someplace. If you decide to blow off your freshman year and your first 2 semesters are in the tank, you don't have a whole lot of time to fix that. Okay, so that's why we got to take that serious right off the bat. GCU, Grand Canyon University, wants a 3.0. They'll do a 2.5 on a provisional kind of a basis. And a lot of schools will have some provisional probationary enrollments, that sort of thing, for somebody that's kind of on the borderline with that. A lot of this is also in a state of flux because of the transition that's going on relative to test optional schools and that sort of thing. We'll talk about that a little bit more in just a second. I do want to also throw in there, NCAA does a kind of an odd thing where they take a combination of a test score and a GPA. And again, they're playing with the test score issue a bit, but they're looking at the 2 of them together. So in other words, if you've got a really good test score, your GPA doesn't have to be as high and you can qualify to play. Or if your test score isn't so good, but your GPA is fairly high, then that works out to balance the formula, and that can help you be eligible to play as well. So it's a little bit complicated. They also are very specific about the exact 16 classes that they want to see, 16 years worth of coursework that they want to see, that they're going to use to determine their GPA. So, and in NCAA terms, things like PE do not count as part of your GPA. They pull all that stuff out that they don't want to see, and they only count your core subject areas like your math and your science and your English and your foreign language and social studies, those sorts of things. So that it's a little bit different. If that's something that you're looking for, you're going to want to find out how NCAA does their GPA and their eligibility right now, so that you've got an understanding of what it is you need to be zeroing in on to be successful in getting that approval. The other thing that's really key is not only what grades did you get, but what classes did you take? There's all sorts of opportunities for us there. We're going to talk about that a little bit more tonight, but obviously it's going to be to your advantage to take the honors classes because it demonstrates to the school you're willing to take a little bit harder angle on this. The benefit for you in the honors classes, we give you a little bit of bump on the GPA, so that makes the GPA look a little bit better, but essentially it's just a reward for the fact that you're willing to do a little bit extra work and take the high road. But that's going to be huge to college because that's going to send them a message that you're willing to do that. Now, if you're getting all A's and B's in regular classes, that's okay too. But if you're getting A's in a bunch of regular classes, then the question is going to be, why weren't you taking the honors classes? So think about that as you're thinking about class planning for the future. And we're going to talk about that a little bit tonight too. Dual credit classes. Okay, so for those who aren't familiar with that, hopefully everyone is, because this is something that's really important to us as we are getting your kids ready for college. A dual credit class is a class that's primarily for juniors and seniors. That's both high school credit and college credit at the same time. So it actually is a college level class. It has to be taught by a teacher that has a master's degree and the right number of hours in the subject field that they're teaching the class in. It's got to use a college level curriculum. It's got to use college level testing. It's got to meet all the college requirements. It essentially is a college class that in our case, we teach right on our campus. Now, other schools have other types of dual credit programs where they're actually sending kids over to Rock Valley for most of their junior, senior year of high school. And so that's a whole different world. In our case, we don't really think kids are emotionally ready for that sort of environment at 15, 16 years old, 17 years old. And so we prefer to, let's give them a couple more years of still being here, but still having the opportunity to take those college level courses with the rigor that goes along with that, because that's a huge demonstration to a university that you're ready for college level work because you've already done it. You've already got grades for it. You've already got the credit for it. Okay, obviously you can handle college level English because you just finished 2 semesters of it successfully. Okay, well, that puts you in that category of, yeah, there's a really good chance this person is going to make it through 4 years of college because they're doing it already. They're proving it already. The other side of that I think is really helpful for kids as we take a look at the role of dual credit classes is the fact that it really provides a level of confidence in the kids, because they're going to sit down that first day at college and look at that course syllabus and look at that course textbook and all that sort of stuff. And they'll be able to look at that and say, oh yeah, I've done this before. I can do this. That's the kind of confidence we want them to take to that college classroom. And if they've already taken a handful of college level courses while they're still here, that's going to put them in a great position. So working our way towards that end as juniors and seniors is an important thing that happens right now as freshmen. Because if you want to be in that senior honors English class, then you got to nail freshman, sophomore level English, because you really need to be in junior honors if you're going to be ready for senior honors. But the advantage of that is now you can get 2 college credits finished up for senior honors. You can, if you're doing that well with your reading, writing area of things, you could probably pick up some dual credit for psych soc, for government econ, etc. And then if you got the gifts in the math area, you can pick up some dual credit for that. In the science area, you pick up some dual credit for that. Lots of opportunities there. We'll take a look at that a little bit more, but those sorts of things are huge to the universities, because that proves to them you've got what it takes to be successful at that level. AP classes are very similar. And we do have AP classes and we have kids that take AP tests. One of the things just to mention about AP program, there is really no such thing as an AP class. The only thing that matters is the AP test. You can take as many AP classes as you want to. If you don't take the test, you don't get the college credit. if you take the test and you don't get a high enough score, you don't get the college credit, even if you got an A in the class, because it's all banked on that one test that you take that one day in May that makes all the difference in terms of whether or not you get the college credit. A lot of people don't like that high stakes testing sort of an idea. So that's why a lot of people like the dual credit better than the AP. We offer both, we can do both, etc. It's not an issue, but there's some upsides and downsides to the AP kind of a thing. It does also demonstrate if you can take that AP test and get the 3, 4, or 5 that you need to get the college credit, that too will show them that you're ready to handle college level work. So that's an advantage. The 1+3 program is what we refer to as a part of our dual credit program, because we do offer more than enough dual credit classes that a student can have their first year of college done before they leave high school. So what that means is you literally can be done with college then in 3 years. Recognizing what a year of college costs, in most cases, that means the money that you save for that year that you don't have to do college probably exceeds the tuition that you paid to come to Rockford Lutheran, which means essentially you just got your Rockford Lutheran education for free. Okay, so that's the advantage of doing that kind of a 1+3 sort of a thing. We have kids every year that accomplish that. We have a lot of kids that are between a semester and 2 semesters worth of work by the time they leave for college, and we're well above 50%, pushing 2/3 of our seniors that are taking some dual credit for some level, some course area, which means most of our students are graduating having already been to college. Okay, so that's huge to an admissions officer. Okay, the other key is we talked about is what classes do you take. These are graduation requirements, so you get a feel for what the details are in terms of that requirement. One of the things I'll throw out there is we used to have a 4-year requirement in the math science area here. And we thought that kind of limited some kids in some areas because we want to encourage more participation, particularly in engineering and arts and those sorts of things. So we created this flex category. So now if fine arts is your thing, you still have to have your 3 years of math and 3 years of science, but you can really focus in on arts because that's your thing. Or if engineering is your thing, you can cut back a little bit on the science. You're going to want to still take the math, but you can take the engineering, you meet those requirements, et cetera. So it really is an opportunity to invite some flexibility to the process, but you're still going to have to get the meat of the program here. A lot of colleges are preferring to see 4 years of math now. So keep that in mind. And they definitely want to make sure everybody's through Algebra 2. So those are important things to keep in mind. Okay, questions on any of this so far? Feel free to raise your hand or just ask as we move on. A little bit of background information here on ACT scores. I didn't get a chance to update some of the Illinois and other data, primarily because Illinois doesn't have that many people taking ACT anymore. We don't have a ton of people taking SAT, so it's hard for us to make a good comparison between what they do and what we do. But that kind of gives you a ballpark of where we're at in terms of our total scores for ACT and so on. I'll just talk quickly about the whole test issue. Kids ask, what should I be preparing for? What test should I be taking? You should be taking the test that your school is most familiar with. And in most cases, if you're going anywhere here in the central continental US, it's going to be ACT. SAT is typically the test of choice on the 2 coasts. Okay, so in most cases, any college will accept either score, but you're probably going to have an advantage of taking the test that the college is more familiar with and that most of their students are coming in with, because then they've got more apples to apples comparisons. The other thing to think about is what test is going to work better for you. Now, we're going to get into that stuff a lot deeper when you're juniors. Okay, in January of your junior year, you get your pre-SAT back, and we'll talk about those sorts of details. But for right now, the idea is you want to get ready for that level of testing, whether it's ACT or SAT is not that critical an issue right now. But the issue of what classes you take is certainly key. Okay, doesn't matter which test you're taking. If you're in pre-calc as a junior, that's going to make a difference as opposed to being in Algebra 2. Not that there's anything wrong with being in Algebra 2 as a junior, for those of us that never made it that far. But being in pre-calc as a junior is going to be a huge advantage when you're taking that ACT in April, June of your junior year. Same thing if you're already into physics. as a junior, as opposed to being in chemistry as a junior. Okay, so all those things in terms of what classes you're taking, when you're taking them, are really key to those results. This is another aspect of the college preparation process that's becoming more and more important, again, because of what schools are doing relative to the whole test optional issue. Let me throw out a couple of things that is also there to think about concerning the idea of being test optional. That a lot of schools had started doing some test optional movements even before COVID hit and all that sort of thing. There's an advantage if a school is test optional. Statistics show more kids will apply to that school. More kids apply to that school, and the school, maybe accepts a few more kids, but not a ton more, then their level of selectivity goes up because they had a lot more applicants. So that looks good to US News and World Report. Okay. So there's all sorts of things that come into the issue of being test optional. Obviously, some of it's been caused by COVID and difficulty kids had a few years back taking, 2 years ago, taking the tests in the spring and that kind of thing. Understandable, that's an issue. But realize that the tests do still demonstrate a student's ability to be ready for college level work. And so schools still want to know that. If they're willing to forego some of that testing detail in the application process, they're typically not willing to forego that information in the scholarship process. In other words, a lot of schools that are test optional for applications are not test optional for scholarships. So those are some things that you're going to need to watch out for. And so you can't go into this thinking that, okay, I'm not going to have to take a test. Well, you don't have to be accepted, but it might put you at a disadvantage in terms of scholarships. So that'll be something you'll need to think about. Okay, and again, if we're looking less at tests and more at grades and more classes that you're taking, we're also looking more at other things you're involved with outside the classroom. And that's because one of the things that the colleges recognize is that the likelihood of a student coming to their university and finding their niche, finding a level of comfortability, finding a place where they fit in, is going to be significantly enhanced if that student was involved in a lot of school activities at the high school level. It's not rocket science to figure out the fact that if this kid came to high school and basically did nothing, they're going to go to college and basically do nothing except go to class and hopefully do their homework and so on. But college is a place where you live now. And so all there is to your life now is what you do at college. And if all you're doing is going to class and going to your dorm room and doing your homework and going to the dining hall and going to class and blah, 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 the statistics show much higher likelihood of dropping out of college versus that student who went through a high school experience and got involved in sports because that was their thing, or got involved in music because that was their thing, or drama, or clubs, etc. If those kids came to high school and really got engaged and they were a part of the culture and they were a part of the climate and atmosphere of the whole high school experience, very high likelihood that they're going to come to a university and do the same thing. So that person now comes to a university setting, and now they decide, okay, well, I played volleyball for 4 years in high school, but I'm not that good at it. So I'm not going to be on a NCAA Division I or even Division II team, maybe not even Division III team, but I can be in intramurals. And so now I get together with a bunch of other girls that, they all played volleyball, and we form a team on our dorm floor. We play the teams in the other dorms and the other dorm floors and all that kind of stuff. And I've got this group of people now that know my language, that know my life experience, that I can connect with. What's the likelihood that I'm going to stay at that university if I've got right off as a freshman a group of people that I connect with, that I feel connected to, that I have things in common with? Is it more likely I'm going to spend 4 years there because I like the place, because I fit in, because it's become part of me and I've become part of it? Absolutely. So that's what colleges are looking for. So guess why we offer all sorts of things like that for our students here? that is becoming, that aspect of your freshman through senior high school resume is becoming much more significant, again, because of not having other factors to look at like test scores. Okay, so as you're going through, starting right now as a freshman, one of the things we'll talk about is okay, let's get serious about what sort of things do I want to get involved with, what I want to participate in. And that's going to be different for every kid, and it should be. That's okay, again, because it's different about how God made them. We don't want everybody doing everything. We want everybody doing what they should be doing. Now, we also want people to try things, because sometimes you don't know what you should be doing until you try it. I can tell you stories about kids that came here and went through 4 years of Rockford Lutheran, and finally, for some reason, their senior year decided to go out for the play. The baseball player did it once, actually. His aspirations were to go on to college and play baseball. The senior year, I don't even remember what play it was, but he was a bird, you know, like full out yellow costume kind of a thing. I don't remember what it was. He had an amazing time with it. He did an amazing job with it. It was the first time he was ever in a play. Guess what? He got a college scholarship for drama and not baseball. Okay, so just try things, do things like that. Some kids have made it their aspiration to do something different every season that they're here. That's great too. Just try things. That's all right. Some people know what exactly it is they want to do and they want to specialize in it. That can be okay too. One thing I'd caution you against, I've also seen situations where kids specialize in something from the time they were knee-high to a grasshopper. And by the time they're done with high school, they don't want to be a part of it anymore because they want to do something else. So watch out for that too. Getting involved in clubs is key, and community service is key, because that shows, again, a part of that core value of ours of service and harmony, that you got a concern for your fellow man, for your fellow neighbor. And so that sort of mindset is something that a lot of colleges and universities are seriously looking for. They want to see people that are willing to get out of their box and engage with a different culture. Think about particular leadership opportunities as well, not just being in a club, but being a leader of a club, being a class officer, being the head of the prom committee or the decoration committee, or it doesn't have to be, you know, student council president. There's all sorts of leadership roles that you can take on and experiences you can have. Can be something like being a future freshman cabin group, freshman retreat leader. That, you know, that's a great experience too. Great thing to put on your resume. Says a lot about your interest in caring for other people and a lot of the skills that you have, that sort of thing. So great opportunity. So leadership roles are huge. If you've got a thought towards a career area, or you want to just try some career areas, seek out some really specific ways in which you can kind of get involved with that while you're still in high school. Now, for freshmen, this might be a little bit early, but sophomore year, especially as you get to drive and that sort of thing, you know what, if you've got a kind of entrepreneurial bent and you've got an interest of going into business management, that sort of thing, it's going to look huge to get into a select university if you demonstrate there that you started your own lawn care business while you were in high school, and that was your full-time job, and that's how you're helping pay for your way through college. That school of business is going to take a whole lot more note of you because of that experience, irrespective of whether or not your grades are better than somebody else, because you've done it. You've demonstrated the kind of passion and the kind of drive to literally start your own business while you're still a high school student. Yeah, imagine what you're going to do after you graduate from college. Okay, so those sorts of experiences are something to look out for. Now, that in an entrepreneurial orientation, it can be starting a business. If somebody's interested in the medical field, it can be, you know, finding some means to volunteer at a hospital and get involved in shadowing and interning. And we've got a great opportunity here in our area. Thermo Fisher offers some great summer programs for high school age kids. So if you're interested in something in that field, pursue those sorts of experiences. When we talk about college or junior, senior year, we'll talk about some things that happen at that level that are going to be huge for you too. But start by just seeking out those experiences that you can get involved with now. And again, in some cases, you're going to find out, okay, well, Yeah, I didn't really like that all so much. Okay, well, try something else. It's okay. But a lot of things outside of school are great too. Church activities are hugely meaningful. Other community agencies, organizations can be great places as well. Just get some experience, get involved. And so what you're essentially going to do is really create a portfolio, a portfolio of your academic work. Something that's helpful in that regard is in many cases, when you're applying to college, they are going to ask for some specifics about the classes you took and that sort of thing. They're going to request a transcript and such. But if you can provide some more detail about something special that you did in that particular class, a particular experiment that you were a part of, or a particular project that you were a part of in a social studies class or something like that, those can be some helpful things that again help you just be set apart from other students. And then again, in developing the extracurricular interests and music, drama, fine arts, athletics, academics, internships, community service, all those sorts of things are huge. Help build confidence, create identity, encourage students to see relationships and connections, work collaboratively and independently. These are great future career skills too. When you talk about soft skills that companies are looking for as they're hiring people, this kind of experience is helpful in that regard too. Sometimes people have asked, what are some colleges that students from Rockford Lutheran have gone to, so that we got some ideas of, what kind of things can we be aspiring to and that sort of thing. So I just threw up some lists of some schools that our kids have attended. We've got lists. You can see them on that map out by the front door by the main gym, that sort of thing too. This just kind of gives you an idea. We've had kids all over the place, all sorts of schools, a variety of schools in terms of size and location and selectivity and so on. I also want to make sure that as we're talking about colleges, that we realize there's a gradation of options that are available for us here. And we're blessed with the fact that we've got a really pretty decent community college in our area. And for kids, for example, that they don't like the classroom all that well, and they're not really looking forward to another 4 years in it. Okay, well, let's look at some other great possibilities. We just took a group of kids to the manufacturers day recognition that they had out at Stenstrom Center. And our kids went to Triangle Metals and got a nice tour there. And these are some guys that they're looking to go into things like welding and other skilled trades like that. And they're going to come out of there with the capability, income wise, of making a lot more money than I make. And that's great. I wouldn't want to be doing that because that's not me. But if that's them, okay. And they can get those kind of jobs with 1-2 years of work at Rock Valley, or a little bit of work at Rock Valley, plus some other training through the unions and all those sorts of things. A lot of great opportunities out there. As we build on the engineering program that Rock Valley has, particularly with the relationship now with NIU, realize there are different gradations of engineering opportunities for kids. Yeah, there's a full-blown electrical, civil, mechanical engineer, et cetera, that's going to need 3 semesters of calculus and who knows what else. But there's also engineering technology, where the math requirement for that is algebra 2 and a little bit of trig, which you can get in high school. And you're going to get out of there with a degree in that kind of a field, and you're going to be starting at $50,000-$60,000 a year. Or you're going to go down to the airport and get trained to work on Boeing jet engines, and you're going to start at $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 a year. So there's a lot of different things like that are available to us, and there are other certificate programs, everything from fire science to CNA to all sorts of emergency technicians and that sort of thing in the medical field. One of the things that we want to make sure the kids understand is, God made all of us different, and we're not all going to a 4-year school. We're not all going for a master's degree or doctorate degree, and that's okay. It's a matter of, am I doing the best that I can do with the gifts God gave me? Am I doing what He put me here to do? Those are the things that we really want to keep emphasizing and understanding. So let's think about some timelines here. Okay, so here's 9th grade timeline. These are some things you want to be thinking about, and we're going to talk about the 4-year academic plan here in just a second. But think of some things to get involved with. Think of some activities and awards and so on you can kind of shoot for. Connect with a faculty member that's maybe in that subject area that you really like. Keep an eye on your GPA and make sure you're doing your homework and that sort of thing. I've got a handout here that it's this year's course selection form for sophomores. Okay, so it's a little dated because German is going to look different on here next year, but most of the rest of the classes are essentially the same. But the key is we want you to be thinking right now of, okay, so yeah, what am I going to be looking at for 10th grade? And then on the back, there's some information about the rest of the coursework that we have for a high school program as well. So let me point out a couple of things that are unique about 10th grade as we go through this. We're just going to do this quickly. And for those of you that are at home, have your kids stop in because I've got extra copies of these forms and they can pick them up and bring them home for you. So as you go through the list, the side that has the number 10 on it at the top for sophomores. On the left there, you see on the first column, you got English, regular English or honors English. Okay, again, it's a key issue. And the bottom line is if you get A's both semesters in regular freshman English, you're going to get recommended for honors sophomore. If you're in honors freshman now and you get A's, B's both semesters, you're going to be an honors sophomore. Okay, so that's how the honors regular works. So, you know, I always tell kids, you know, if you're on the bubble, I'm on that bubble between A and B in regular freshman English, then by all means, go to your English teacher and find out what do I need to do to get this A because I want honors English as a sophomore. Because then you're going to get into it as a junior and then you're getting to dual credit senior English and you got lots of cool doors open to you there. So ask those sorts of questions. Same sort of thing with math. You see there's a wide variety of math options there for kids as you go into 10th grade. Want to take a look at PE health a little bit because one thing you'll notice is that the difference between the 9th grade course selection list and the 10th grade is that in 10th grade, you'll see down there towards the bottom, we have social studies. So students will pick up a social studies class next year as sophomores. They're going to have the option of keeping all the current classes they have. They're going to need to keep most of the current classes that they have. They do have the option of dropping their fine art. So what a lot of kids do is they've got 7 classes in the study hall now. They'll drop their fine art. They'll add the social studies. They'll have 7 classes in the study hall next year. Works fine. If that's your thing, fine. That works great. If you really like fine arts, though, if you really like art, if you really like orchestra, band, choir, that kind of thing, I don't want to drop it because that's going to be my avenue to a scholarship. And believe me, that's absolutely a possibility. We've got a lot of kids that come through here that get art, drama, music scholarships. Okay. And I had one that, well, actually I had 4 kids that came through here. 3 of them ended up with music scholarships. You know, $5,000 a year to play trumpet and band. Ended up with an engineering degree, but he got $20,000, you know, free money for playing trumpet and band. I hate to tell Valpo, he would have played in band anyway because he loved playing in band. Plus, if he played in band, you got to go with the basketball team to NCAA tournament. You know, little extra quirks there that come in. But the point is, you know, if that's your thing, keep doing it. Okay, so how do I do that now if I want to keep doing orchestra and pick up social studies and still have a study hall? Okay, take a look at the PE area. You see there, we've got health and we got online health. This year, we also added an online PE class. You can take health and PE online over the summer. So if you want to keep art, band, choir, and pick up social studies, do the online PE health over the summer. You can do one summer, another one the other summer. You can do both of them one summer if you want to, depends on how much time you want to put into it. But it provides you an avenue to pursue the things that God gifted you to do and still get all your other requirements done as well. Or some people will say, okay, yeah, I'm not, the art thing is not for me, but engineering is. So look down there at the bottom of the first column, intro to engineering design. Let's say I want to add that on and I need to add on social studies. Well, now I'm back to 8 classes, no study hall. Well, do the PE and health thing again. Now you can take engineering and social studies and all the other requirements and still have 7 classes in study hall. Okay, so this will be coming to you guys in January. All right, I'm just giving you kind of a heads up view on what it looks like so that you kind of anticipate that, because that whole PE thing gets a little confusing for some people. I talk with your kids about it when I meet with them, just so you know. But if it doesn't all get communicated at home quite completely, that won't be the first time. On the back of the page, this shows our course offerings for 9 through 12. That's just there for you to be thinking about down the road. Okay, as you have these discussions with the kids, what do I want to get into? What do I want to focus on? What are the directions I want to go? Notice, as you get to hit junior, senior year, we add on a lot of extra meat there. Okay, you're taking a look at those science classes and you got things like dual credit chemistry and dual credit biology. And then senior year, you got dual credit anatomy, physiology, and so on. Okay, there's a lot of really cool things there if you're thinking of a career in the science field or the medical field, or if you're thinking about any other field, because that dual credit chemistry and that dual credit biology is going to mean when I can get to college now, I don't have to take chem and bio. I'm done. That I did in high school. I don't want to do any more of it. I got it done while I was in high school. I don't do it in college. I got other things I can do there that are more fun. So those sorts of options there too. You got the psych social that gets added on. You got the 3-year engineering program that gets added on. You continue to have the upper level languages. Okay. And we can get a lot of dual credit work in Spanish with continuing on with Spanish 4, 5, and 6, that kind of thing. Realize that if you take all of that Spanish, or the French works pretty much the same as well, you can complete 4 semesters of college level foreign language before you leave here. To get a minor in a foreign language in college, all you need is 6 semesters. So now you've got your degree in engineering, now you got your degree in psychology, now you got your degree in pre-med, now you got your degree in accounting, and you pick up 2 more classes, and now you've also got a degree in French, or you've also got a degree in Spanish. Guess what that's going to do to your employability? Okay, but those decisions about that are being made now as you decide whether or not you're going to go home and actually do your French and your Spanish, so that you can continue to move on up through levels 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, so that's why that stuff's important for us to be thinking about now. Okay, questions on anything that you see here? Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the reason for that is our French teacher does not have a master's degree. That's a requirement for something like that. However, way most colleges will work it with a foreign language like that is they're going to test you when you get on campus anyway. And so if you go through 6 years of French and you do a good job with it, you do what you should be doing, you're going to test out of most likely at least 3 semesters and likely 4. So it'll just happen a different way. Yeah. Well, this year we only had 6 kids that wanted German 1, and we only had like 2 kids that wanted German 2. So we had to make the decision that we're phasing out the German program. Yeah. A dozen. Yeah, we weren't anywhere close. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So again, there's a timeline for 9th grade. So think about those sorts of things you want to work on. Here for 10th grade. Again, you want to pick the challenging classes. We're going to be doing the pre-ACT test, and we got some resources that you can do some test prep and practice tests and that kind of thing. Start thinking about majors and interests. Now we've started talking about that this year with kids with the Reese profile. We're going to talk about that in a second. And spiritual gifts inventory. We've got other inventories we're going to do, but be thinking about, and this is where some of that discussion stuff should come in, because kids, you need to realize that at this point in life, your parents know you fairly well, okay? And developmentally, your brain's still cooking up here. It's still growing, and there's things that it can't do yet that it needs to do if you're going to make good decisions about your future career. Those are some things your parents can help you with, okay? So, this is one of those great things to just, well, we were always thankful that there was a DQ just down the street here. At least my kids were, okay? Because when it was time for us to have some of those kind of discussions about, okay, so, I've noticed this is something you really seem to enjoy doing. Have you ever thought about doing that, as a part of your future? Those sorts of discussions, they don't like just walking along the street talking about stuff like that or sitting home on the couch talking about it. But, you go to Dairy Queen and there's a milkshake or cone involved. Yeah, they'll go for that. So we spent a lot of time at Dairy Queen having discussions about stuff like that. Took me years to work all that ice cream off, but I got 4 kids that all have careers now, and none of them are living at home anymore. So I'm figuring that was a pretty good investment. It worked. But spend some time talking about that kind of stuff as a family, because there are things, and sometimes, there were things that we noticed about our kids when they were really young that were just interesting. And as they continue to grow, we said, well, this is what I've seen in you, like since the time you were 3. Just a quick story. I had a brother, God love him, who's a bachelor, and bought my kids this big tub of toy cars, which of course, when you're 2 or 3 years old and you play with the toy cars, the first thing you do with it is dump it, right? Okay, and now there's a bazillion cars for somebody to pick up. Anyway, what was really interesting though is I had 4 kids. Every one of them played differently with that same bucket of cars. Somebody bought us one of those carpet roads to run them on. Okay, so one of them just like running along the roads and going into the houses and talking to the people in the houses, of the people that live there, and then they drive to somebody else's house and go talk to that person. Another one would love to drive through the roads and all the stuff that was on the pictures and all that kind of stuff, and talk about the sounds that it made. Like this is what this bird makes the sound, and this, this makes this sound, that kind of thing. Another one liked to line the cars up. Forget about the carpet. We line the cars up by size, and then we line them up by color, and it's all about lining up the cars. And then there was another one that didn't want to have anything to do with any of that. All they want to do was find out which one was fastest and which one would go down this track farthest. Okay, so when I was a science teacher, lined up the cars. Okay, one of them is a youth leader, spends all his time talking to people. One of them's a musician. Everything had a sound. First thing he always said out of his mouth is, when we show him what this, this is an elephant, what he says. All he cared about was what sound it made. And one's an engineer. And it's interesting, you can trace it all back to how they played with those cars when they were 3 years old. I'm not saying that your kid's destined at 3 years old what they're going to be for their career, but when we could sit down with them when they were 14 at DQ and talk about what classes they liked and what was their favorite subject and what sort of things they kind of got excited about, and then say, well, you know what, when you were about 3, this is what you used to do. Isn't that interesting how that fits with what you're doing now? Those are some great discussions to have. Okay, so kids, you need to be willing to listen to that kind of stuff, because there are a few things your parents know that you don't yet, but you'll catch up with them pretty quick. At least you think you will. Okay, so that's 10th grade kind of stuff. Keep growing your GPA and start working on a college list and start visiting colleges. The summer after your sophomore year, think about where you want to start visiting colleges. Now, you're not gonna be making any decisions at that point, but you're on your way to grandma's house. Stop off and see a couple schools. Sometimes they'll spring for lunch for you, that kind of thing. And I've got some sheets that'll be available to you when you do this next year. This is what you should do on a college visit, that sort of thing. But start getting serious about that, because again, then the summer after your junior year is when, or during your junior year is when you're making your second visit to those top schools that you're really interested in. Then when your summer after junior year is over, that's now, and that's when you're turning in your applications. Okay, so it might seem kind of early, but it's never too early. 11th grade, we get into testing. We talked about that a little bit. And this is where you get into some leadership opportunities. Being a captain of a basketball team or whatever is a huge deal. You get into some upper level class opportunities. You got the chances in junior, senior year to take more than one science class. If that'll help you knock out those dual credit gen eds and that kind of thing. Continue working on your interests and those sorts of things. Start thinking about essay topics and that kind of stuff for college essays and such, and keep going from there. So again, this is our application season for college. Keep in mind that early application means not only your application is there when all the seats are empty in the freshman class, it's also when they haven't obligated any scholarship money yet. It's not just about the seat. Okay, so and this is one thing that, SendEDU is a system that we use for transferring information to colleges. I get this question on Common App. The point is, if you mess up, okay, and realize you can get a suspension for having just a huge ton of tardies. It's a really lousy reason to get a suspension. But if they ask, and they do, I have to tell them. So don't mess with that. Okay, I'm throwing just a couple of things in there about scholarships because people said they'd like to know a little bit about that. And there's some handouts about scholarships over there just so you can start thinking about how am I going to pay for this down the road. There's need-based scholarships that are based on you know, just income and family size and how many people are in college and all those sorts of things, and merit-based scholarships, which is where you get into the academic and artistic, athletic, et cetera, all those sorts of things. Absolutely should be shooting for, you know, for whatever kind of funds you can get, but that's why you should be practicing those, you know, practicing your instrument, that kind of thing right now, or your sport or your craft, whatever it is. But at the same time, there's some things that you can work on in terms of getting prepared for you know, what your financial needs situation is going to look like too. And don't be thinking, I'll mention this further down the road, don't be thinking that, okay, I paid money to go to a private high school, I can't pay for a private college too. Absolutely not true. Absolutely. Because particularly if you do your homework and you get the decent grades and you take the right classes and your GPA is good, guess who those colleges are going to want? How are they going to demonstrate to you that they want you? It's the scholarships. Okay. There's, you know, if you got good numbers, there's good numbers out there for you to get. And that's how you'll get places. And I can tell you situations where we've got kids that are going to private universities, D1, good quality college, private universities, Christian universities, and their parents are paying less than they paid to send their kid to Rockford Lutheran. Okay, so that's down the road. A little bit more money, or excuse me, a little bit more information about money, scholarships, that sort of thing. Notice where a lot of it comes from. A lot of it comes from the school. So schools that have endowments and foundations and that kind of thing, that's where it happens. The grants come from various federal agencies, that sort of thing. We'll get into that kind of stuff when that gets a little bit closer. This again shows a little bit about where the money comes from for colleges and so on. This is just a graphic from Augustana because they make nice graphics. So yeah, so the idea of staying connected with your student, the time that you spend talking with them, limiting some distractions that can get them off target from where you want them to be is important. Learning good time management skills now is important. Good routines, meals and sleep. You know, I was talking with a kid today after school and I thought I'd just give it battery went or something. Okay. Any questions? So the Aspire was last year's 8th graders, but it was springtime. And so we actually don't get the results till over the summer. So we distribute them now and at our parent teacher conferences. Yeah, yeah. No, no. You would have whatever happened at your school in 8th grade, or whatever was unique to your situation. Yeah. Yes. At the junior senior level, yeah, some students do take both. Yep, not unusual. Not unusual. And sometimes they'll take both multiple times. Yeah. To each his own. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Okay. All righty. Well, thanks for coming tonight. I'll be here if you have any questions. Please feel free to make sure you grab some handouts on the way out. Those of you that are online, have your kids stop by tomorrow and they can pick up the handouts from the guidance office. And feel free to always get in touch if you have questions on anything relative to course selection and thoughts towards college and that sort of thing. You know where to find me. Thanks for coming tonight. Oh, I've got a little form for you to fill out here. Sorry, if you could pass that down, it's helpful for me to get some input from you. And if you have other questions of things I didn't cover, you can feel free to put them on here. That's helpful too. Thanks.